broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans! Welcome to another episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. AfterBuzz After Show. It is good to be back!
Yeah!
We're back! In fact, we are bouncing back. That's Season 3, Episode 11, Bouncing Back is what we're talking about tonight. If anybody calls me out on that being a pun, it is not a pun, it's a play on words. Anywho,
we all know how much you love puns.
Let me introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Jesse Klein.
Hi everyone. I'm excited to be back. This episode was so awesome. I want to talk about everything with all of you. You can find me on Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
Zach Wilson.
Oh my god, I'm so excited that S.H.I.E.L.D. is back.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I ever stopped talking about Marvel television, but I miss talking about this Marvel television.
Yeah, I miss talking about Marvel television with you guys.
Oh, we've missed you.
I missed you too.
We have the lovely Joyce Ajouri, who we have missed quite a lot while we were all away on Agent Carter.
I missed you guys, and I missed all of you. You can find me on Twitter at Ajouri.
And I'm your guys' host, Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Guys, we are also going to be following along with the live chat for those of you guys who have, in some cases, stayed up very, very late to watch us live.
Some of you are up so late.
So late.
On a school night.
So early. And then we are also going to be keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTVShield. If you guys haven't already done so, please go to iTunes, rate, subscribe, leave a comment. We love hearing from you, and we will get to that.
I want to correct one thing.
Go right ahead.
The hashtag is now ABTV Marvel.
That makes my Snapchat incorrect.
Well, we still have the ABTV Shield, but we do have, for those of you who don't know, we do have our own Twitter. For those of you guys who love keeping up with all of the AfterBuzz stuff on Marvel, about Marvel, we have the ABTV Marvel Twitter. So if you guys haven't already done so, you should be following that. And for those of you who didn't know, we had a little bit of a contest.
And we'll be announcing the winner later on in the show.
Stay tuned.
So keep watching.
Don't touch that dial. And that's very Agent Carter. I apologize. So guys, first of all, I just want to know, how does it all, because we the three of us hadn't necessarily stopped talking about Marvel because we were on Agent Carter for the last however many weeks that was. But how does it feel for all of us to just be diving back into this show? Because the show itself doesn't seem like it skipped a beat since we last left off at the mid-season finale.
I mean, in this episode, I felt like this is the mid-season finale was not in their best episodes. But this just kicked off exactly how I wanted it to.
Yeah, this was an action drama. Like, this was exactly what we wanted. It was like, especially since we just did Agent Carter, and before that, Zach and I did Jessica Jones, which is like on either side of the levity spectrum. Like, one of them is very dark, one of them is very light, and this is splitting it really well for me. And I'm like, I'm having fun. That's a bummer, but I'm still having fun. And this was I loved all the action. I loved all the introductions.
Yeah.
I thought it really just it hit the ground running. Everything that they left at the end of the break paid off almost immediately when we got here. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I second everything you guys all said. And I love the new dynamics, and I love the new characters and the introductions. And seeing everybody work together in new ways today was really, really fun to watch. It was so exciting.
Yeah, we had a lot of really good dynamics of people working off of each other. We get to see Joey in his element. We get to see Mac doing what he does really well, and
Getting locked next to a toilet.
He did that to Hunter.
Hunter.
Tables have turned.
Yeah.
shoes on the other foot now. Huh?
Taste your own medicine, Mac.
But I'm
Such a nice guy.
I'm actually going to disagree with you guys about the pacing, though, because I kind of feel like the pacing for the first half of this season, more so for season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's been so breakneck and especially leading up to the mid-season finale, it was going so fast. And now that a lot of those storylines have kind of been resolved and we're moving on to something new, I feel like a lot of this it's slower, but not in a bad way, in like a really good, it's perfectly paced kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, what stands out to me about this episode is that it wasn't just, there was a lot of action. There was, and there was exciting powers and effects at work, and it was like you're on the edge of your seat, just like, is everyone going to be okay? But there's also a deep emotion running through every piece of that. Yo-Yo's storyline with Mac, with her brother, and then you get the classic spy stuff on the Malik Coulson side. Like this is hitting all of the notes of S.H.I.E.L.D. in one episode.
Yeah, I mean, because we also are dealing, like, Roz's loss is brought up again. Like, with Fitz and Simmons, we kind of are like, where's their friendship at right now? And, like, and then also Lincoln and Daisy.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like this episode was a great kind of, this is where we're at now.
Yeah, it's a good refresher for maybe people who haven't been thinking about Marvel for the past 2-3 months.
I don't know what that's like.
But apparently there are some people who are like that. But anyway, before we get too much into the character stuff, we should probably touch on this very, very and we won't dwell on it for too long. And maybe this is more suited towards predictions, but we should probably touch on this opening scene, because it's not necessarily in S.H.I.E.L.D. style to do an en media res opening where you start in the middle of a story and then go back. And we start 3 months from present time.
Pretty much season finale.
Yeah.
Like, that's about how long it'll be before the season finale.
It's the interior of a spaceship heading towards Earth with someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. inside. What looked like Yo-Yo's cross floating in in zero gravity, and it looked like it was just about to explode.
A lot of blood.
A lot of blood. Yeah.
So we obviously know that inner space travel has been a thing via the portal. Does S.H.I.E.L.D. have the capability of taking any of their aerial vehicles to space at this point?
No, but S.W.O.R.D. does.
Yeah. You beat... yeah. As far as we have seen, S.H.I.E.L.D. has no interstellar travel, like no space vehicles as of yet. That doesn't mean one of their... that doesn't mean that wasn't just a plane or like vehicle that got zapped into space
That's
and
true.
doesn't belong up there.
Also, we know that S.H.I.E.L.D. is friends with a lot of people some people on Asgard and some Asgardians, and they are space travelers.
Yeah.
So they could possibly borrow some technology from them as well.
Just retrofit a Quinjet.
Yeah.
Like, we're in space now.
Yeah, why not?
Not impossible.
I think it's safe to assume that this opening scene isn't going to get paid off until the season finale, which, that's going to be an interesting thing. Do you guys think that, like, again, not to dwell too much on predictions, but do you guys think that for the rest of the episodes we'll get, like, a little bit more snippets from that opening scene? Like, every episode will open with a little bit more?
No, I think we're not going to see that again until it's being actually dealt with in real time.
All right, fair enough. Well, like I said, don't want to dwell on it too much. Let's talk about Coulson meeting the president. Because first of all, we had somebody send us an article from IO9 earlier, talking about how Civil War could be missing out on a huge opportunity if it doesn't acknowledge Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And watching the scene between the two of them kind of makes me wonder if they choosing to not kind of capitalize on the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the universe, because the president wants them all to keep doing what they're doing in the shadows and have the ATCU be the face of S.H.I.E.L.D. essentially.
That line was basically, especially with that article coming out, was basically like, oh, so that's how they're going to explain it away, is that they're like, no, but nobody knows about that. And like, I know that like Iron Man has like all the hacking and like all that stuff abilities, and like Captain America's probably got like ears everywhere, and like Nick Fury's running around, but like it's not, nobody knows about the S.H.I.E.L.D. thing.
Maria Hill certainly doesn't know. Black Widow certainly doesn't know.
Maria Hill knows. She's got like, she called Coulson up last.
I'm saying that with like a wink. Like, of course she doesn't know. Wink.
I also thought there was an inconsistency because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in one of the Iron Mans, obviously not Iron Man 1, I believe they reference President Obama. And I believe that, like, the Marvel movie universe, the president, it was our current president.
I'd have to go back and rewatch. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember either.
But I vaguely remember them talking about that and being like, oh, interesting.
I mean, that said, like, I'm fine with a fictional president.
I'm fine with the fictional president as well. What I'm saying is, like, it's an inconsistency where S.H.I.E.L.D. takes place in the same world as the Marvel movies. If the Marvel movies are saying that President Obama is the president and then S.H.I.E.L.D. has a different president, it's a little different.
It's kind of like we're getting a peek into a parallel world where...
Was it Iron Man 2? Because Iron Man 2 was in 2010. So there could have been an election in 2012.
Fair enough.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that's true.
All right, I'll take that. Yeah.
That being said, it is like a parallel Marvel world, if that's the case, where Obama was never reelected.
It's just they forgot to include that, or forgot that existed. Yeah.
Or they just like didn't feel like getting an Obama impersonator.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't gonna like call up like Jordan Peele to come in and like.
Why would they not call up Jordan Peele? That seems like the worst decision they've ever made.
He would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Or Alpha Cat even.
I feel like we've wandered off the topic.
Yes.
Anyway, let's bring it back. I will say that probably, again, the most satisfying bit comes at the end of the episode when we find out that the person who Coulson is going to be doling out orders to is Talbot. And that just makes me smile, because anytime they're on screen together, it's just a gem. It's just a joy.
So funny to watch together. Their interactions and their relationship cracks me up. So I feel like this is going to be a good partnership again. It'll be fun to see them together.
Yeah.
Talbot's a great foil.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and especially because he's going to be supposedly taking orders from Coulson now, whereas before it was like an alliance of convenience.
Or they always had to negotiate.
Yeah, there was always a little bit of tit for tat. Now it's very much Coulson is Talbot's boss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And as soon as like they say like we're gonna assign a new person to oversee, I'm like, Talbot. It's totally gonna be Talbot, because he's the most fun person to put in that role. Because like, look, we got a lot of dark stuff coming in this season. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
gonna get hot. Like Hive's gonna be running around doing all kinds of things. It's gonna be that's gonna be fun. And dark, and like whatever the Secret Warriors are up to is gonna be dark and interesting. So why not have some fun ridiculousness of just Coulson and Talbot having a pissing contest?
We'll definitely need it.
I mean, one of the staples of the Secret Warriors comic is a lot of them died or were crippled or had to leave for reasons.
Thrown out.
Yeah, or that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be an interesting series coming up.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. And yeah, I'm really hoping that the Talbot Coulson stuff, it gives us some much needed comic relief.
For sure.
So yeah, since you guys are talking about Secret Warriors, let's talk about the Secret Warriors, because you guys are really, really good. I mean, sometimes your theories are way out there, but you guys are also really good at predicting certain things.
I know.
I gotta say, what was it like finally seeing Yo-Yo on screen?
I mean, that was cool. That was fun.
I mean,
it was different.
Is
Because she's different than she is in the comics.
Is it too much to say it was the greatest moment of my life? Is that too much? I don't have a daughter and I'm not married, but I feel like this would be better than having one of those. I mean, just seeing her powers, and like I was like, oh, are they just gonna give her super speed? But no, she returns back to the spot that she originated at, which is such a cool way to make super speed not overpowered that they have to go back. I mean, she was super powerful, don't get me wrong, in this episode, but it is a great way to kind of handicap someone with super speed.
Yeah, it puts limitations.
That you know they're always going back. The fact that like her interactions with Max, she's not really sure about, like, she's not joining the Secret Warriors technically yet. She gets a sweet watch. I mean, you get an Apple Watch, you join Secret Warriors.
Hey man, those things are expensive.
They are
so
very
pricey.
expensive. But
One of the many perks of the job, I suppose.
But yeah, it's so cool. And like just like the little things, like when Max sees her at first, the reason why he even notices her is because the tread on her shoes is worn. And like just like those tiny little things, like, and you hear the heartbeat like when she goes back. Like it's just super exciting. It was a great, like, for TV super speed.
Yeah.
It's great TV super speed.
Yeah, and keeping keeping that limit on her powers is such a strong choice, especially in light of, like, we can't talk about super speed on TV without, like, at least mentioning the other side of the table, because The Flash is killing it right now in a lot of ways. It's a fun TV show, but it's very much the difference here is that, like, The Flash is, like, big powers. It's the gods versus the underdogs. And this is, like, when you put a limit on it, it has such a profound just effect on the character because it forces them into a box and forces them to rely more, even in fights, on their teammates.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have, like, I'm so excited to see what she does, like, fighting alongside Daisy.
We got that brief glimpse in the police station.
She was great. I was, like, we mentioned how she's different from the comics because she's, like, older than she is in the comics, and she doesn't speak English as well as she does in the comics either. And I was expecting, when we found out we were going to see her on the screen, I was expecting her to have super speed because that's how I interpreted her from Secret Warriors.
Yeah.
So I'm going to agree with all you guys. Like, I like that limitation that she has, that vulnerability, that, like, it's a potential vulnerability for her.
I like it because it distinguishes her from Quicksilver. Because we saw Quicksilver in the X-Men films, and we saw Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. And as cool as it is to have a speedster running around and just being generally charming and having fun slow motion scenes, I mean, like, when you have somebody like that, it can be really hard to, like, again, put limitations on them, especially when there is another show about that type of superhero that's on where he's the main character. So I like that it makes her different from the other speedsters we have on TV right now.
I also like the implication with the heartbeat because unlike Quicksilver or the Flash or any speedster we see, her metabolism is not increased. Her body is not super speeded up. It's somehow she is going quickly and her body is at a static point. Like, it's still like a normal heartbeat, whereas like Quicksilver, his heart beats super fast when he's running super fast, or the Flash, his heart beats super fast and has to eat a lot because his metabolism is so increased. So it's an interesting implication. I'm sure they won't really dive into it, but it's also, like you were saying, like another way to like distinguish them. So I'm really excited.
But go ahead.
Oh, no.
I was just going to say they do make another point, just talking about genetics, though. And there's this idea that that inhuman powers aren't random, that there's something in the genetic code that was meant to fulfill a specific evolutionary function. And again, that is very interesting to think about because this entire time we have been thinking about inhuman powers as like spinning a wheel. It's like, what am I going to get? Am I going to turn into a giant dog? Am I going to be a door? Am I going to get laser vision? Who knows? Am I going to end up with eyes at all? Am I going to turn into a porcupine? So it's interesting to think of, at least from the inhuman perspective, that all of that there was quote unquote intelligent design to all of these.
Yeah, that's huge.
Well, here's the thing: is they set it up as if it's like that's what his belief is
upbringing
on it.
is, yeah,
and that's what they're taught. But that doesn't mean that it's
true,
accurate. It's sort of, I could see that as just being a tale that they've been told
as a
to
way to
help them,
rationalize the randomness.
Yeah, to rationalize the randomness of the universe, because the universe does not necessarily apply logic to situations like this. But I could see it being encoded in DNA, but not necessarily flexible to the situations that you find yourself.
Well, fulfilling evolutionary functions from a Kree perspective.
Yeah, exactly. We already know that it's intelligent design because they're created by aliens. Like the genetic markers that were put in them, they were made to be weapons that the Kree were going to use to take over the galaxy. So we already know that, but the implication that it's not already marked, that it's something that comes from within, or who the person is or what's going on around them, kind of forces that like change in them, is completely different than the comic books, and also very interesting to think about. Like, why does Daisy have quake powers, and why does Lincoln have electric powers?
It also makes me think that the implications are that there are other people out there who have the same powers, like very much like, I don't know, an ant, like all anteaters have the same shaped face or mouth, so they can all eat the same. You know, like if it's an evolutionary thing, I wonder if there's like someone else out there who has the same powers as Quake, or someone else out there who has the same powers as
It would make sense
Yo-Yo.
from an experimental standpoint that you would want to try the same thing with different variables. So it would make sense if you get like different control groups and everything like that. I'm not going to pretend like I understand how the Kree did these experiments, but I think if you're making the argument against this, like that maybe it was just a story that they told to rationalize it, I feel like if that's the case, then that little tidbit was dropped for the parallel that we get with Elena, aka Yo-Yo, believing that this power was a gift from God. She's rationalized it in her own way. So at the very least, we have that as like a story parallel for this particular episode.
Mm-hmm.
Or a gift from fish.
Or pescado.
I love that.
Dios o pescado. And it's also like, it's fun to think about, like, yeah, you could have just been eating fish, like not even like fish oil, like you took a pill. Like you could have just been like grilling a fish.
Can we talk about the fact that Bobby tried it, or that Hunter tried it, and that Bobby thought about trying it?
I think that's huge because Bobby might be an Inhuman. Like, that is like part of her thing in the Marvel comic book universe, is she does have an enhanced body. Like, she is stronger than most people, and she's got like just overall better than most people.
Yeah.
And she has like a super soldier serum, kind of
like a different strain of it.
Yeah. So she might be an Inhuman, and they might include that. I don't know if they will.
I kind of hope they don't. I like her as just a human fighter. I think it makes her stronger as a character to not be. And I think that choice is perfectly suited to Bobby.
Yeah.
Like, that she's like, yeah, I want to know, but ultimately, like, I like who I am, and I don't need to have another set of powers to define me. Hunter's like, yeah, give me the advantage. Like, are you kidding? Whatever advantage I can get.
Lamenting the fact that he can't have invisibility.
and actually, I want to point you guys in the chat. Thank you all for joining us. I wanted to try something out new tonight. So if you are in the web browser, I don't know how it works on mobile yet. It's something new we're trying. If you're on the web browser, if you go look at the video, in the top right corner, there's a little I button. And if you click on that, we have a little poll. And the poll is, would you take the fish oil or not?
Answer honestly.
Yeah. Be honest.
Look
we'll
inside your
find
soul.
you if you're not.
Tell us what you see.
Think about it, because you could end up having awesome electrical powers, but you could also end up becoming allergic to oxygen. So...
Which I couldn't tell you what sort of evolutionary trait that serves.
I couldn't either, but, you know.
Or you could become
Pugs
allergic
exist.
to other Inhumans, like that one guy was.
Yeah.
You could turn into a psychotic lash monster. You know, there are so many things that could happen.
You could just melt stuff.
Or you could melt. Who knows?
The amazing melter.
Would
that
you
could be
guys
your power.
take the pill?
I feel like this would be a humorous thing because my first instinct is yes, give me superpowers, but then I'm thinking of like the monkey's paw sort of thing where you get what you wish for, but then you're cursed. And so I feel like if I were to jump at him and be like, yes, give me superpowers, that I'd end up having something I'd really regret.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
Yeah, I'd probably take that pill, man.
How about you, Joyce?
I'd probably eat a bottle of those pills just in case.
I mean,
Just to
it
make
doesn't.
sure.
It's
To
one.
catalyze.
It's one
I would
or
do
all.
it
It's
just
all
in
or
case.
nothing. Yeah.
Just in case, man. I'd take a bottle of them. Also, fish oil is good for you in general, so
Yeah,
I mean,
it helps your hair.
yeah.
Well, you
I'm
could get a healing
cat. I can't. Like the chance is just I can't leave it up
because
to
it could
chance for
ruin
something
your
like that.
life.
It could ruin my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could, or like if we're talking about the latest Marvel movie that came out, it's not MCU related, but like you could end up getting a healing factor, but end up looking like Deadpool.
Like an avocado had sex with an older avocado.
But as we learned in the lesson of Deadpool, is love sees past that, and that's
is
what's
true.
important. It's a love story. Take your children. Don't take your children.
Don't take your children.
Do the
There were
opposite
so
of
many
that.
kids in my theater that day, and it was very, very what's the word?
Just the thought of that makes me uncomfortable.
It was terrible.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Going back to the point you guys made, when they were having the discussion about Yo-Yo, and they were saying she doesn't have a record, she's like she works at a museum, she seems like a good person, and the Inhumans were like, so obviously she's doing something good. But then I think it was Mac made the point, you know, May's husband was a good guy until he got Inhuman powers, and then became a mass murderer. Like it's completely believable that someone could get those powers and then become a monster, literally, or
But in their
Yeah.
head, they
not.
think they're doing what's right.
Yeah, because Andrew absolutely showed no prior history of mental illness
Yeah.
or instability or anger issues or violence. He becomes an Inhuman, and all of a sudden, all of those things.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it could
I
happen.
thought it was a really good point.
It's very cool, and yeah, it's I mean, you're changing who you are in a lot of ways. Like, because even if you don't, it doesn't directly change your personality. Like, it's not like, oh, the powers changed who you are. Like, you're a different person now.
Yeah.
Like the difference between Ward and Hive. Like, those are two different
Those
people.
are two
Entities,
very
yeah.
different things.
In the same wrapper. One's a lot crinkled. More crinkled than now. But,
Emaciated, yeah.
But even if it doesn't, just having those powers will change your perspective on the world. It will change how you behave around others, what your approach is to just life in general. Everything about your life will change if you get powers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go no on the fish oil.
Put me down as
Just like Bobby, I'm content with my life and who I am.
put me down as a very tentative yes. It'd be one of those things where I'd like shut my eyes
But
while
in
taking the
theory,
pill.
you could have the same life you have now and then just add in, like, I can run across the room and grab something in an instant powers.
Or make
But not
popcorn with my
knowing-
mind.
The not knowing is just.
Well, we
would
should.
kill me.
No, it's literally a coin toss. There may be intelligent design from the Kree perspective, but you have no way of being able to predict. If there was a way of being able to predict, that would be interesting.
It really
that
would
would be
be.
interesting of being able to like have your DNA coded, have an Inhuman expert take a look at it, and be able to accurately predict how your biology and physiology would change. That would be interesting.
Well, I wonder if what Lincoln's belief holds true. I would wonder if the Kree initially set out for that to be the case. That the reason that it's bent on some kind of it bends on some kind of adaptability or evolutionary trait is that the Kree wanted to be able to like force them to think about one thing. Like if you think about electricity at the time of Teragenesis, you become electric powers. Or if you are if somebody like shakes you when when you
When you
go through
undergo Teragenesis.
Or if you're
Teragenesis,
in
you
an
become
earthquake
quake.
during
A
Teragenesis.
husband from the 1950s. Snap out of it!
Oh no!
Oh no, I'm giving my wife superpowers. Well, before we've talked about this, before we move on to the next topic, I do want to talk about the other Inhuman we're introduced to in this episode. And we didn't
Medusa
get his
Man?
name. Yeah, I
That was a
just-
weird choice to
eye
use
guy.
the word Medusa about an Inhuman.
Yeah, it was a very weird choice.
Because I mean, Medusa is an actual Inhuman. Is she one of the royal family?
She's the queen.
She's the queen.
Of
She's
the
The
Inhuman.
queen.
Yeah.
So maybe that's
she's got
just
great hair.
maybe that's just a little nugget that they're planting. A little seed for later on for the Inhumans film.
It didn't read like that. I think it was just a accident
Just
or
thrown in there.
Yeah.
I was thrown in there, but I feel terrible. I'm leading this panel. I'm the only one that hasn't read Secret Warriors. But how do you guys feel seeing a new Inhuman that wasn't necessarily there?
Well, I'm gonna call him Mandusa, and I think it's great because last season we saw a lot of new Inhumans that have not been introduced in the comics, and I think keeping people who are familiar with it kind of on their toes and kind of getting to see some new powers is exciting, and it also pays off because it does, like, we didn't know that guy had powers until he took those sweet specs off and then turned everyone blue.
Which that's a terrifying power.
Seriously.
Like they looked pretty dead. I was really relieved when I heard them breathing. I was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
they're not like that's because that could easily turn into like a terrible, terrible thing.
The chat roll is saying he's Medusa.
Medusa.
But I like Mandusa.
I like
more.
Mandusa.
I like Mandusa.
Spread the hashtag Mandusa.
Hashtag Mandusa.
I just have to do a shout out to Joey Mota on the hashtag. With Hunter's luck, he would become the door.
That's probably
That
true.
would happen to him. Poor Bobby.
But one of the things that I am loving about the Secret Warriors as we're building them, like, I'm totally cool with bringing in new
Yeah, Joey.
Inhumans and all that. But we're slowly seeing the classic Secret Warriors team take form, not necessarily the same characters. For various reasons, it seems like we're not going to get the exact set of characters. We're getting Yo-Yo, so like Yo-Yo and Yo-Yo, same person, like with differences. But it seems like Lincoln is very much hitting into the Hellfire role.
Yeah.
Because
Lincoln's a lot nicer than
he's a lot
Hellfire.
nicer for now.
Well, and he had his dark streak right there at the
he
very
has
beginning.
done some bad. He has shown some anger issues before.
Yeah, but Hellfire's just like a prick. Like that's,
He is really rude.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying it's a perfect one-to-one,
Yeah.
but like Mac is very much like, minus the superpowers, is very much fitting into the role that Stonewall had. If you think about it, especially that the relationship that we saw him with with Yo-Yo by the end of this.
yeah, I mean, a little. Stonewall has so many daddy issues though. Like, again, like it's not a perfect one-to-one, but I like what you're going with.
Yeah, and
where
it's like
they're
we
filling out the.
we don't know Mac's home life.
That's true.
yeah, we learned that he has faith in this episode.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. And then Angel to me very much fits into Sebastian's role. Because he's a little bit like, he doesn't know, like, he's not good at asserting authority. He's a little bit like, he doesn't really necessarily belong in as like law enforcement or
Sure.
military. He's very powerful when you get down to it, but he might like, I could see him having trouble down the road when he has to deal with like when he loses a friend. I think that's when we're going to see the Druid storyline sort of play out with that character.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I'm really loving how they're.
I noticed how you didn't talk about Phobos, my favorite character.
Because we don't have. There's
Yeah, I
nobody there's nobody for Phobos yet, and I'm hoping that's because we're gonna get Phobos.
Me too.
And they're just like holding out on us.
Let's move past that, because I feel like if we start talking about that, we'll be talking about that until they kick us out of the studio. So before any other final thoughts on the new Inhumans that we're introduced to before we kind of move on with the rest of this episode, because there's still quite a bit to unpack, not to mention news and gossip to cover later on as well.
Well, I was corrected when I said Angel for
Yeah.
some reason. I meant Joey.
Yeah,
I kind of figured that's
Yeah.
who you meant, but yeah, thank you for clarifying.
Just I think it's important that, Yo-Yo's first introduction, she loses her cousin almost immediately. And I like that her character has this sense of right and wrong, like extremely strong, and this connectivity to, like, she didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay there. I think that's super important, just to her character is very different than anyone we've seen in the series, and I'm really interested in seeing it going forward. Also, I'm usually not the first one to say this, but did anyone see some sparks between her and Mac?
Yeah.
It felt like there was some sparkage going on.
I thought so.
And I'm not talking
A little bit
about
of
Lincoln.
love, actually,
One
because
of them's gonna have to learn a different language.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
little bit of love, actually.
So,
just saying.
so is it Momo or Yak Yak?
I wrote,
Those are the
Yo-Mac.
worst ship names I've ever heard.
I
I
wrote
want you to
Yo-Mac.
turn around into the corner and think about what you've done, Zach, because those were terrible.
Also, for Daisy and Lincoln, I wrote Thunderquake.
Thunderquake?
Thunderquake as their ship name.
It sounds like a transformer.
Yeah, it probably
Sounds
is.
like something I heard yesterday
He
morning at
doesn't-
6 a.m. Bright and early when it was
Woke
storming in
everybody
LA.
up.
He
It was
doesn't. He
ridiculous.
doesn't really have the thunder though. He has the lightning.
I mean, in comic books, those are interchangeable a lot of times.
That is a
Like
fact.
someone's like, my powers are thunder, and they just have electricity,
you-
not sound.
Did you call it Thundercracker?
No,
Thunderquake.
Thunderquake.
Thunderquake. Okay. Thundercracker is a transformer. That's why I was like, wait a minute. Did he actually name a transformer? Okay. So that we're gonna go ahead before we move on.
The chat was better.
What?
Mayo.
Mayo.
That's a much better ship
I
name.
love Mayo.
Much
Sorry,
better
Zach.
ship name.
Mayo is much
well
better.
No, that's
done,
way
chat.
better.
Spread that
well
with some
done.
garlic aioli on a
Way to-
sandwich.
Way to show Zach how it's done.
Prosciutto.
Full of mozzarella.
Oh, it still makes me happy. Oh, that sounds so delicious. Anyway, before we move on with the show, we want to talk to you guys really quickly about iTunes.
Yes.
Folks, thank you so much to everybody who's gone to iTunes, especially over the break in the interim, to rate and leave a comment. It is the best way to let our producers know that you like the show that we're putting on, and that really means a lot to us. Not only is it the highlight of our day to hear from you, because it may or may not be the highlight of my day to hear from you, but also it's a really good way of getting our name out there, making sure we're searchable, making sure that, I don't know, maybe we could get guests if we have very favorable reviews. We do our best. So it really means the world that you guys take the time to go and rate, leave a comment. It's super, super great hearing from you.
Yeah, and we have so many that I can't possibly read them all.
Did we beat Scandal?
No. But
Nothing
you guys
can-
are killing it. We're up to
nothing can beat
514
Holy
ratings,
cow.
you guys. So, like,
That's
keep them
amazing.
coming, because that's... Every time I see that number go up, I just, like, smile.
Because we were hovering right at 500 for a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we've exceeded that, and it's like
Boom.
the sky's
Yeah.
the limit.
And part of that's because we had a little contest going on.
We did indeed.
And I just want to do some shout outs real quick to all of you guys who wrote in. Best hype man ever says good.
It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be
That's
concise.
some great hype, bro.
Yeah, he also says my
said,
name
"My
is
name
a
is a
lie.
lie."
Yeah. Thank you, Cass Graves 93, 3DM Pro. Morp.
Oh my god.
It won't go
I'll
away.
never escape more.
Fitzsimmons Fangirl says, can't wait for you guys to come back. 5,000 stars. Matt Dennis says, awesome show podcast. Continued for both seasons of Agent Carter, Daredevil, and Jessica Jones. So thank you, Matt, for watching all of ABTV
Yeah.
Marvel. Thank you, Ash Marie, SSR Agent S.H.I.E.L.D, Agents Assemble. Kings and Queens of AfterBuzz, says S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Joanna. Princess Heather 2, in-depth episode reviews. That is accurate to what we are. Written Angel Marie, thank you. The 10th Plague 8706, Tumbling Block, Jilly Bean 729,
Jilly.
Prodigal 358, JG 8472. And then I want to do, and then we had a contest.
We did indeed.
Can we show off the poster that we're giving away? Which one is it? Today we're
Oh my
we're
gosh,
giving away
it's so
this
cool.
one. That is,
Dual.
yeah, it is.
Promotional.
It is.
I think this is perfect, in all
Yeah,
honesty.
and because it was a crossover from our Agent Carter panel, that's where we started to give away. So you get on one half Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and on one half Agent Carter.
It's really cool.
I-
Pretty cool.
Are you sure we're giving that away?
I mean, it could mysteriously go missing
No,
before
but
we made
I
it
want to
out.
give it to. We're gonna give it to somebody who's been a long time fan. Like, we went through all the reviews, and we everybody who wrote in and followed all the rules that we set, and go follow ABTV Marvel.
If you haven't
and
already
I want to give this. I want to give this
Steven just
poster
sneezed.
2. I know what you were going for because I've hit that button before.
There we go. Woo!
Langley M. Neely.
Yay!
Langley, thank you so much for joining us all the time. Langley says, unapologetic love for this after show. As a longtime viewer of AfterBuzz and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast, I can say without question the show and the hosts are not only wonderfully thoughtful, but incredibly engaging. They regularly accomplish what many after shows strive for, miss, enhancing and adding to the overall experience of the shows they cover. And it's very long, and we've got a ton of stuff still to cover. So, it's all there on iTunes. Langley, thank you so much. Just check your mail.
Thank you, Langley.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Langley.
we will DM you for all that mailing information, so don't worry about that. Thank you guys again. But we still have a couple more posters here. What should we do with those?
Well, you'll just have to stay tuned and come back. We might give away some of them live. We might...
Suspense is killing
And
me.
I do have some packages to send out from like earlier giveaways that I lost and now have found.
Ooh, found package.
So yeah, guys, if you didn't win, I don't know. Keep at it. You might. I mean, we might have some runner-up stuff later on, because we've got lots of posters here that should find wonderful homes. Anywho, again, if Zach doesn't get to them first. Anyway, again, congratulations, Langley, and thank you to everybody who participated. Let's go ahead and move on. There's still a ton to touch on in this episode. We do have to I was going to talk about the hunt for Malik and like the whole Von Strucker thing, but we can talk about Hive first.
I just got excited.
Let's talk about Hive first. So Ward is super creepy. Like that first of all, we got people tweeting at us before the show started saying that the people who got to watch it on the East Coast feed, saying that like the effects for this episode were really, really good, and yeah, solid CGI in this entire episode, but also freaking killer makeup job on
my
Ward.
gosh.
I think it was a mix of both. Like, it looked like it was makeup mixed with CGI. The way they really emaciated him and made him look fragile and weird.
They really did. He was hard to look at, and you can tell from Malik, like, it was hard for Malik to see him too.
Yeah.
If you ever had doubts about Brett Dalton's acting ability, like from his time as Ward, like, his Ward was not like a super diverse character in terms of like what he had to do performance-wise.
Mm-hmm.
He's so creepy.
Yeah, very
Plus,
And just
Ward
like
was acting himself.
Yeah.
You know, like he was putting on a front the whole time. So like if you felt like his performance was a little iffy or something, like I feel like you can get away with it as Ward because he was going.
Ward had always been putting on an act.
Putting on an act.
It wasn't creepy in that like like something like that. It was creepy in that subtle, just like, I really don't want to talk to this person anymore.
There was something very, like, he fell within like a very I can't believe I'm gonna use this word, but like he looked inhuman. Like he was like there was just something off about him where he did not seem like he was the right way, and that's because it was a dead corpse that was reanimated by a brain squid.
He's literally a zombie.
Yeah.
But a zombie with a mind that functions properly.
That apparently really likes prosciutto.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I thought it was just a wad of prosciutto that he was eating off a stick. It was meant to look like raw meat, but I was like, he is so stuffing his face with prosciutto right now, and I am jealous.
He's got like this like very well like marbled steak on the table.
Raw steak, though.
Yeah, all raw.
All raw.
He just sits there.
Ew.
Did you have to make the sounds?
Yes. But that's the thing, is it's just like, because he's watching all these screens, like absorbing human history.
Yeah, he was doing the Fifth
They've
Element thing.
advanced but haven't changed.
Yeah, and it's so creepy watching him, like, because he's studying while he does it. He's like slowly regaining his strength and studying because of whatever evil plans he's formulating.
And then he throws his spores into that I forget that guy's name.
The Iron Chef dude.
The Iron Chef guy.
He had a name. I can't remember it.
The
But
Iron Chef dude who can control metal.
yeah, he had a name, and we got flack for calling him Iron Chef dude and not by his name. But Lord, if I
I'm
can't
sorry,
remember. It was a while ago. We're not perfect, guys. I know that may be hard
It's
to
a
process.
lot of names to remember for this show.
The top of my notes are all just underlined names of people. Like, even just May, because I know off the top of my head if I'm talking about something super exciting, like, May.
Or Jesse.
Jesse.
Or Zach. Joyce.
You got it.
Yay! I win this time. But yeah, no, there's this. It wasn't with Ward's character design, the newly reformatted Ward. His character design. I think the otherworldliness. It's not quite Uncanny Valley, but it's
close.
Very alien.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Guerra.
Mr.
okay.
Guerra.
There we go.
way.
He has a name. That's
Mr.
great.
Gear.
The internet
but-
helped me.
Mr. Iron Chef guy.
But it's interesting that the show comes out. We've been speculating for ages that he's Hive, but it's interesting that the show went and came out and like the week prior to the show coming back announced that it was Hive, because you wouldn't necessarily get that it was Hive until you got to the very end of this episode. So, I don't know. Do you guys feel like they played their hand a little too soon? Or do you guys feel like it was obvious enough to where, like, it's only for promotional purposes? It doesn't really matter that much.
I'm glad they brought it out this quickly. I mean, we've been waiting to see, Ward for a long time now. And I feel like if they prolonged it just, I don't know. I would have felt like, okay, like, what's his purpose? Like, I want to see, like, I'm
It
just...
would have been off.
I
Yeah.
have
There's
friends,
no reason to wait.
Yeah.
I have friends who are huge Marvel fans that have not seen an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they're like, I'm not interested in it. But when they saw the announcement that Hive was a part of it, they were like, I guess I'm watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. And I'm like, keep watching till after Captain America 2. It gets really good. And like, I think that mixed with the Secret Warriors is going to bring a lot of hardcore fans into it, because just saying the name Hive, like, if you've just read Spider-Man, you'd never come across that name. But if it's a hardcore Marvel fan, they'll know who Hive is, and that'll bring them in to come and watch the show.
Yeah, and that's such an intense character or entity to bring into this world, because it's not the most well-known villain by any means,
not at all.
But the power set, the implications behind Hive's involvement speak volumes about the faith in what this show is going to do. And so Hive can take over other bodies. They don't have to be dead necessarily, but it'll be interesting to see how they play out this one. But as far as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jess, but the Hive can take over a living body and control it more directly, but it can also take over a dead body.
Yeah, I think the way to think about it is like the mushroom spores that take over an ant's brain, or if you played the Last of Us game, it's a kind of sentient hive mind that can take over a brain and use it for themselves. It can use it on a dead body, but it can also do that to a living body and kind of grow within it.
Yeah.
So at the end when we saw what kind of looked like sand, I think those were spores that were going into that guy's
and it's gonna grow
brain.
the little squid thing.
I don't know.
I can't wait to
I don't know if
see
they're gonna do a
what
squid.
he looks like.
Well, we saw little tentacle
Yeah.
things. I only say squid because
Well, in the comic books, they just have squid heads. Yeah.
I'm just picturing the little Futurama, the little green
brain slug.
Yeah. The brain slug.
totally inconspicuous. I'm just picturing one of the new Inhuman recruits coming to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. You look different today, Agent. I don't know what you are referring to, sir, but it might be this new haircut.
Yeah, but what are the hive spores that infest you gonna do for the little man?
Put on this new hat.
Oh, that's clearly not the direction the show is going, but that is a hoot.
I am changing Mandusa's name to Hypnotoad.
Yes.
But the show is going
okay.
clearly in the direction of Hive is not just taking over people. Hive is out to take over Inhumans.
Yes.
People now that it's not like relying on the person to person just to survive, every however many eons between when it got a sacrifice. Now that it's back on Earth and that the Inhumans are active and widespread and seemingly unpredictable, that's Hive's target. And I have a question. Once somebody is taken over by Hive, if they're still alive, not if they're a dead body, because that's a lost cause, but if they're still alive when they're taken over by Hive, is there any way to reverse that, or is that person just gone? Because to me, this rings very reminiscent of a lot of like old-timey zombie stuff, like old-timey zombie lore, which actually had less to do with the living dead and more and like reanimated corpses and more to do with mind control. So that's what I'm wondering is
Old-timey
this
zombie was explanation of slaves, like how to explain that you could do something for someone and not like rebel against them with the white zombie lore. Hive, I believe there's precedent for people who are dead and alive being brought back after Hive has taken over in the books.
Okay.
There are a lot of Marvel mind control zombie things.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot
so,
of
like,
mind control's a huge spectrum, I imagine.
So there's a lot of like Spore and like especially with X-Men there's some villains that are very similar. So I'm mixing them up, but I believe that you can come back from Hive, that there is precedence for it.
I feel like with how sinister Ward as Hive is now, like his intention isn't to make it temporary.
No.
I feel like it's going to be like once I screw with you, like you're over.
Yeah, but here's the question: if they were able to take out Ward, would that assume he takes over 10 people or 15 or however many? If they take out Ward, would that in turn, killing the head vampire, would that fix everybody else?
I don't think so, because my understanding of Hive is that it's not like a central brain type of thing. It's more like, an octopus is actually a very good analogy for it, because an octopus's brain is technically throughout its entire body. So taking off one leg does not necessarily mean that you've killed the whole thing, even though you've killed part of the brain. It's also, if this is the origin of Hydra, the perfect explanation for where cut off one head to grow in its place comes from, because kill one body of Hive and Hive will just spread itself into two more and become even more powerful.
It makes sense why there are tentacles there instead of actual Hydra heads.
Sure.
Because that never made sense. Now it makes sense. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about regarding Hive before we move on? Because we do have some other stuff to talk about regarding Malik.
Oh, let's keep going.
Yeah,
All right. So I think we all knew that we weren't completely done with Von Strucker when he went away, when he went into that coma. I didn't think that this was going to be the way we brought him back into the show.
Me neither. I had a hard time being convinced that Coulson would do something to someone who's practically brain dead. I felt like there was some moral issue with it, and I think Coulson voiced that briefly, where he was like,
I don't like this at all.
Yeah, he was like, I don't like this. I've been in here before. He's like, but I cannot leave the idea that Malik is untouchable to be. It needs to be done. Because
he's clearly, the opening shot, after that whole 3 months from now bit, is the bloody floor where Rosalind died.
Yeah.
And so we kind of get the sense that is still the driving force, it's, again, the breakneck speed has slowed down, but that's still very much on his mind, and that's still very much a driving force for him.
Well, I think it's the thing that makes Coulson such an interesting character is that he's not black and white. He is very gray, and he does some stuff that we don't really like. Like with the Inhumans at the end of last season, he was making some choices that were questionable and not necessarily the nicest or the most morally correct thing to do.
Yeah, so it makes sense that the advice he gave fits. Like, it's all part of the job. Like, sometimes the decision is the hard one and you just have to...
Which sounds like
do
something... which, honestly, when he said that, it sounds like something Ward would have said. And so when he said that, I was like, I don't think I like Coulson saying things like that.
Well, it's the thing, in the comic books, it's usually Nick Fury who is used in this role, but it's the thing to remember is Coulson is the head spy. Part of his job is killing people. Like, that's a big part of his job. He's working in a military, like, setting. Like, that's a big part of his job, and if in order to get to Malik, he hurt someone badly, he can feel bad about it, but he's still going to do it because that's what gets him results.
Also, like, I know he's baby Von Strucker, but he's still, like, he wasn't exactly a good guy.
No,
to begin with. Not to justify torture, but, like, he's not so innocent, even as bad as he got it. So, like, yeah, I mean, if you have to use him to get to the boss, like, you have to use him to get to the boss. Like, Gideon Malik is going to kill a lot more people.
Sure.
If he's left unchecked. Yeah. And that's basically what Coulson is able to do. He's able to get in touch with Gideon, and he at least, like, affects him. It causes him problems.
Yeah.
Gothite industry shut down a bunch
of offices and their stock. Although, like, that's, again, it's a very interesting when a character can be like, I'll lose millions. Big deal. That's not a huge deal for me.
If I lose a $5 bill, I am out for the rest of the week.
I know, I am livid if I can't find where I put that 5.
So I'll lose a few million.
Lose it in my bank account.
Yes, please. Share the wealth.
Please. That would be stupendous.
Yeah. Cut off $1 and $2 go in
Is that true?
Plates.
Is that true?
Let's test that theory.
Don't do it. Don't do that.
Into confetti.
Yeah. I would love to go back to that map because I wonder. Like, we didn't have nearly enough time to do it before we came in here, but, like, I wonder if it lines up with the, like, those maps from the Secret Warriors book of, like, all the bases.
Where the base that'd be really cool. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting ploy for Coulson to just kind of announce and tell Malik, I'm after you. Like, it tactically did not seem like a great move. Like, yes, he got him to shut down some stuff, but, like, it did not seem like it would be better if Malik thought that Coulson had forgotten about him and didn't know about his power.
Or didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
Do you think Coulson would have done that had he known that Hive is in his possession?
No.
I don't...
no.
Like, I know he has no clue, like, what he's got in store.
Because this was very much more about sending a message than it was actually about, shutting down those millions of offices, or, those several offices, however many it was.
Yeah, I think it's clear that Coulson doesn't know. Like, he's acting like he won.
Yeah, he thinks he won.
And like, even looking at the way he and Fitz are talking, this experience very much affected them. They think it's over. Mm-hmm. And we see Fitz having a lot of guilt because in his mind he killed Will or didn't do everything that he could have to save Will, even though we know, dramatic irony, that that's not the case. It's the same with Coulson. I don't think he would nearly be taking these sort of tactical measures if he had any reason to think that Ward / whatever that thing is, Hive, came through the portal.
Do you guys think Ward is dead? Like the personality, the brain, like everything like that?
I think Ward is completely out of the picture.
I think it's more interesting if he is gone. Like 100% gone, because then we don't have any bit of Ward overshadowing Hive. Because then there's a possibility of like, oh, he's still in there somewhere. And then, the fangirls can be like, we can fix him. No, it's more interesting if he's just gone.
I always forget there are Ward fangirls.
Yeah. It's confusing, right?
There were like...
to be young again.
During the Jessica Jones podcast, there were so many people that were Kilgrave fangirls. And I was like, oh,
You
Gross. No.
You can be a David Tennant fangirl, not a Kilgrave fangirl. Those are two very different things. Anywho,
speaking of fangirling, Fitzsimmons.
Okay, so
are we there yet? Am I jumping ahead?
No. We need to talk. That's the next talking point. So thank you for that nice segue. So yeah, because Fitz is plagued with this guilt, there's been this rift between the two of them. And I wanted to know what you guys think of the way they kind of wrapped up the Fitzsimmons arc from this first half of the season, because they've had a lot of problems since the end of season 1. Like, end of season 1, moving to where we are now, they've had nothing but issues. And so, yeah, it's nice to see them go, let's just have a clean slate, let's start over. Whether that means romantically or not has yet to be seen, but what do you guys think?
I like the idea of them starting over, but part of me also was waiting for Fitz to grab her hand when they shook hands, like pull her close and just like be like, no, we're not taking the time anymore.
A wave explodes behind them.
I mean, I just wanted it. I like that they're starting fresh and that it's going to be, good for them. I know it's going to be good for them, but I also feel like, God, you've done enough of this already. Like, just
try to be together.
Just try to be together.
Mean, it's super Whedon to have two characters that the audience wants to get together, and they go through season after season of not being together, and it's just the audience wants them to be together. You guys know, and people who've listened to the podcast before, I've not liked how they've handled these two characters, and I thought this was the first time that their romance felt real, and the first time that their chemistry was earned. Yeah. And I thought it was a really good handling of these two characters. And even though it is the Whedon thing to do, to be like, let's start anew every season, I thought it was a really good way to handle it. And I'm really excited to see how this relationship goes forward.
Yeah, I agree exactly with what Jesse just said.
Thirdsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. Okay, we gotta move on through. But there is some quick news and gossip that we need to address.
Real quick, just simple.
Real quick, simple. Season 4 confirmed.
Yeah. 4.
Booyah!
It puts my mind at ease in such a big way about the end of this season, because with it up in the air, I was a little nervous about how they're gonna wrap this out, and like. We know with Most Wanted on the table, and
there's a lot up in the air.
Carter, we don't know what the fate of Carter is yet. It was just like, but S.H.I.E.L.D. is such a centerpiece of the ABC Marvel TV universe that it's a good sign for overall what they're doing. And with the new president of the ABC group, like holding all of the Marvel TV, other than Netflix shows, holding them in her hands, that is at least like, okay, so we're not losing this stuff anytime soon.
Or at least not losing S.H.I.E.L.D. for another season. So this is great. Yeah. I'm very excited. I think we can all agree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exciting. All right. Apart from announcing that there's not really else, I mean, we had like a quick TV promo for Daredevil, but there's not really a whole lot to talk about.
We did a whole 40-minute preview thing with Jesse and me and Mark and Jamie.
So if you guys haven't gone to see that,
the Daredevil trailers, so you don't need more.
You guys should go check it out. Anywho, let's go ahead and move on with predictions so that we can allow the engineers to leave before we get the hook. So, looks like the Absorbing Man ? Is coming back next episode.
Yeah. It's definitely the Absorbing Man. I don't think it's Stonewall yet. We might get him soon, branching off of him, but I could also see them just replacing Stonewall's role with, or like the power set and all that, with just Absorbing Man.
Yeah, in the comic books, one of the Secret Warriors, his name is Stonewall. He's Absorbing Man's son. He at first kind of has powers where he turns into a giant dragon man, and then it kind of, as the series goes on, it becomes more like Absorbing Man's powers. I think I'm gonna do it quick. I think it's just gonna be general. They're gonna explore more Inhumans, more Secret Warriors. we're going to see some scary Hive stuff.
Joyce?
Mine go right along with you guys, to be perfectly honest.
I think prediction-wise, I think we're actually going to see some genuinely positive Fitzsimmons relationship moments. I think they are going to get together, and I think this is the start of them eventually being together. Because I agree with you, Jesse. I think they kind of mishandled a little bit of that the first half of the season. Anywho, but yeah, I think with Hive, I think my prediction is that people taken over by Hive, with the exception of Ward, it's not going to be readily apparent. And then I think that would make things more interesting, because then you have potential invasion of the body snatchers going on where you don't know who you can trust.
Oh, real quick, we didn't hit Hydra 6 is a special Hydra op that took the Mandusa. So Hydra isn't as crippled as we thought it was.
Yeah.
We thought it was pretty much like very bare bones.
They have Black Ops teams.
They have Black Ops teams with net guns.
Yeah.
With claw machine guns. Let's be clear.
There's just a guy.
Has anybody been that good at a claw machine ever?
I mean, because it's literally like Carl.
That was kind of funny.
I wanted the giraffe, not the eye guy.
Which it's funny because the only reason that worked was because Yo-Yo was incapacitated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I wanted the Quake.
I wanted the Quake action figure.
I do my quick prediction. I think that we're gonna see a Crusher Creel comeback story. Redemption. That's the word I was looking for. A Crusher Creel redemption story.
See his character come full circle. There we go.
Cool.
All right, guys, that just about wraps it up for the evening. Jesse Klein, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JSSKLEIN, the number 1. I'll be doing the Daredevil podcast coming up pretty soon with Zach over here. And you can see me doing live comedy all over town, but specifically at the Pack Theater here in Los Angeles.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at that Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson. And also here at AfterBuzz on a whole bunch of shows, and also occasionally over on Marvel movie news on our sister network, The Popcorn Talk, as the voice of doom.
Sweet. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Ajouri. I've got a little bit of behind-the-scenes snaps of us here on the show. And you can find me on the Walking Dead podcast on Sunday nights, as well as Shameless.
Nice.
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's in the live chat and the hashtag tonight. You guys are just a treat to watch. You guys are just the best. And thank you again to everybody who participated in our contest, everybody who goes to iTunes to rate and comment. Again, we've got more posters to give away, so keep at it. Keep your comments coming. Thank you guys so much. It's good to be back. We will see you all next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.